What's good, y'all? Welcome to episode 12 of the No One Shot podcast. Your boy B Miller back in the building, man. CO's in the building. Bullers in the building.
Yeah.
Hey, today we have two amazing guests, man. We are honored to have these ladies here. We have Miss Rosie Chavez and Miss Laurie Valdez. How you guys doing today?
Doing good. Thank
Hello,
Thanks for having us here today.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for having us. Rosie and Laurie are both members of Silicon Valley Debug. They're you guys are. What is your official?
We're families impacted, but she also works for them.
Yeah, we're families impacted, and I'm an organizer.
You're organizer for the organization.
Yes.
Okay. But also on top of that, though, you guys are also directly impacted by officer-involved shootings.
Right.
Rosie is the aunt of Jacob Dominguez, who was killed by SJPD in 2018. 17, correct. And Laurie Valdez is the partner of Antonio Guzman Lopez. He was killed by San Jose State PD in 2014.
Yes.
Yes. So we thank you guys for coming on this podcast. Thank you for having this conversation with us. This is about to be a dope conversation, y'all.
It's gotta be.
It gotta be. It gotta be. So, how are you guys doing today?
Good.
Good. Definitely. So let's just jump right into it. Can you guys tell us a little bit about your stories, about your how officer-involved shootings have impacted your life?
So in 2017, September 15th, my nephew was shot and killed by a covert response unit of San Jose PD. That has impacted our lives tremendously. And Jacob was my sister. She has two kids, but he was her only son. He was the first nephew, first grandson. So I also helped, along with another sister, we've helped raise Jacob. So Jacob was raised by us. And so it's impacted us because the family we're so close-knit.
Mm-hmm.
Jacob was only just my nephew. He was like a little brother. My sister had him when I was 13. And I've always taken care of him, made sure he was taken care of. And then when I had kids, Jacob became their older brother. So basically, Jacob's been that role model for the kids, and he was never that person to gear them the wrong way. He was that person to say, you go to college, you go to school, you get your education. And so it's impacted us tremendously. I mean, we still struggle every day. Not only his wife, his mom, his sister. It's been hard. My mom goes to the cemetery, which is his grandma, first grandson. She's at that cemetery every day. It's an everyday routine that she's at that cemetery. Does it hurt me? Yes. She says, I got to go see Jacob. And, we make jokes about it, but at the same time, emotionally, it's heart-wrenching to see my mom, who's 70, I think she's 72, and she's there every day. Every day it's a routine, and so that hurts. And, even his own mom says, I can't do that. We go to the visuals every 15th. His mom makes it a point to either go to the cemetery or so it's, my sons struggle with a little bit of depression. My older boys, the oldest is 28. Middle is 26, and it's impacted us. It's other nephews that are 27, and it's impacted us tremendously.
And Jacob had children himself.
He
right?
had 3 children. The oldest now is 10. That's Jacob Jr. Jordan is 7, going to be 8. Jalea is 6, going to be 7. They're 11 months apart. The oldest is the only one that knows about his death and who took him out. He wants some accountability. He asked his mom at the 2-year anniversary. She took him a walk and told him, because we do fundraisers, because we're still trying to raise money for attorney, not fees, but for the attorney wants us to have money put away for things that may arise while we're in trial. So we're still trying to raise money. And when we were there raising money, he's old enough to understand what we're doing. And so he's asked. And so she took him around and had a little walk in the cemetery and told him, the cops killed Dad. And his first thing was, well, will they go to jail for this? So that's sad. The younger two don't know. The middle one is really angry because Dad's not here. He doesn't have a good... when he sees people interacting with fathers, whether it's a woman, a little girl or a little boy, and even if it's at family functions, he wants to go. He gets impatient. He doesn't want to be there. He doesn't want to be around. He sees it at school. You could see the little attitude comes out, And then baby girl, that we call her Mama Girl, She asked for him for this Christmas, and she cried to Mom. I mean, nobody sees what goes on behind closed doors.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been hard because she'll call me, she'll text me, and she'll tell me what happens, and she'll let me know, like, hey, you know. And I asked her, is there anything I should say? Because I always ask for her input on what she wants me to say, what the kids are going through, because they need to know. And she says, well, Julia's been asking for Daddy, and she asked for him this Christmas, and she's upset because Santa didn't bring Daddy, but she's going to ask for him next year because all she wants to do is hug Daddy. She misses her Daddy. And that was Mama Girl. That was his baby girl. It's his only girl. So, you know, and she was 4 when it happened. So she doesn't know, and it's really hard. And there was no counseling offered through the police or any victim programs because we're not considered the victims. The family is not considered the victim.
Mm-hmm.
So they did seek some therapy, but you know, this shouldn't be. This shouldn't be like this. This should not be like. There needs to be more to offer these kids. These kids are innocent. These kids are innocent, and they need some sort of help and support.
Hopefully, we can shed light on the situation. Laurie, would you mind sharing?
Sure. So, Antonio was undocumented. He spoke Spanish, and on February 21st, 2014, there was a caller that said there was somebody acting weird, holding a knife on campus, and that, you know, like they said, the call that I heard, the guy wasn't like saying he was like threatening. He wasn't threatening. He wasn't feeling threatened by him, but he just thought he needed help, right? And so the 2 officers who went out to help, who were crisis intervention trained officers, went out to where Antonio was. He was eating lunch on a lawn right off the campus, and they approached him with guns drawn, you know, yelling commands without even trying to like use their training, number one, but try to understand. He's not understanding those commands. And so they shot him in the back. One officer yelled, shoot him, shoot him. And so the officer shot him twice in the back. But before we knew all that, Antonio's case was put on a gag order from the beginning. And when it first happened, I seen it, not knowing it was Antonio. But then when I was seeing for the whole week after he was killed, like the stuff that was being said, I had to come forward, right? So when I came forward, I talked to Vic Lee from the news channel, and I told him, look, I'm the partner of Antonio, and we have a 4-year-old son, and I need to know why this happened, because I need to explain to my son why he's going to grow up without his dad, right? Because my son, when it happened on Friday. The following Saturday, I went to Antonio's family's house, and one of his little cousins, he was sitting by a tree waiting for his dad, and one of his little cousins says, Josiah, you don't have a dad no more. The cops killed him. And my son was 4 years old, and my son just looked at me like, and my daughter, who was 10, who Antonio raised, she's all, Mom, you know, so-and-so said, you know, told, you know, Josiah. So when I didn't know, because I didn't even know how I was going to tell him, right? So we went to the place where they killed Antonio, and I remember showing my son, he's seen his dad's picture, took him off his car seat, and he looks, he goes, why are my daddy's pictures here, you know? And I just told him, well, Daddy's with God now, you know, he's in heaven, you're not going to see him no more, this is the last place. But he was 4 years old, he didn't comprehend that, right? And so everything that was being said, they said Antonio was catatonic, they said that, you know, so many things that he was doing it, but witnesses that I spoke to told me, you know, like, they're lying, you know, like, they're lying. He was innocent. He didn't do nothing. I talked to 2 girls, one that was living in the apartment right in front of where it happened, and another girl who was coming towards the university across the street. And from, like, one was coming this way, one was coming this way. And from the 2 different directions when I talked to them, they didn't know each other. They both said the same exact story of what happened, right? So I knew that what they were saying was true in the narrative, what the cops were saying. So I got an attorney and stuff, but in the meantime, my son was waking up crying for his dad. No, I had told his go back. I told his pediatrician what happened. How do I tell my son he's never going to see his dad because he's asking for him? She says he needs to see his dad in the coffin. He needs to go to the funeral, right? And me, growing up in my house, my dad always said, death was not for little eyes, innocent eyes to see, right? So I was really conflicted, like, what? why do I want my son to see his dead father, right? And so she says he needs to see him. He might not understand what death is right now. She goes, but he needs to see him so he knows that he saw his dad in the coffin. So he doesn't think his dad just walked away and didn't love him. That his dad's not here because he was, you know what I'm saying?
That can make sense.
And that can give him some kind of, you know, like closure that his dad didn't just walk out on him and forget about him, right? And so
I think there's other ways you can go about doing that, though. I don't know. How did you feel about that?
Well, I was like conflicted. I said, well, I'll have to think about it. She goes, well, this is really in the best interest of him, because you don't want him growing up thinking his dad didn't love him, because that's worse.
Right.
Because he'll know his dad loved him, and he's not here, not because he chose to, but because of death, right? So I ended up taking him. We had a one-day memorial here in San Jose. And so when I had the memorial and we got there was all kinds of media, because people knew, you know, we're going to be there and they want to talk to me. And I'm going to get emotional.
Take your time.
You're good. You take your time. You're good.
But I remember my son he was a little guy. And he said, I want to see Daddy, right? So my girls, my friends, a few friends, I carried Josiah to the coffin. And I remember me looking at Antonio, and it hurt me, but I was trying to be strong. And I remember my son saying, Mommy, why is my daddy in this box? Why won't he wake up? Where's his legs, right? Are they broken? Somebody put a pink rosary in his hand. Why did they put that in Daddy's hands? You know, he's not a girl. And where's his hat, Mommy? Because his dad used to wear those white cowboy hats. And where's my daddy's shoes? You know, and the coffin was half, so he could only see half his body. And I just cried and held him, because I had no answers. I didn't know how to answer my son so he could comprehend that, right? So after he asked all that, I said, okay. So we went back to the back of the memorial, and I was crying. And then somebody says, Josiah's going back to go see his dad. And I'm like, no, don't let him go, right? So they're all like, bring him over here. So I kept trying, but he kept wanting to see his dad, right? And so after everybody left, I asked the lady from the mortuary home, can we have a private, you know, view? And so you can open the whole coffin so he could see his dad's legs are there. And so she said, yeah. So we stayed there. And then when he seen that his dad's feet didn't have shoes, he's all, why is my dad, you know, and the lady started like tucking stuff in, and you know, she goes, well, we're going to do this so Daddy, she goes, how come my dad won't get up and say, and hug me, right? And she goes, Daddy's legs are there. And she goes, you want to touch him? And when she said that, I looked at her like, you know, and then I said, yeah, Dad, and I touched him. I said, see, Daddy's legs are there. I said, but Daddy's not here. I said, this is just, Daddy's really in heaven. This is just his body. And I'm telling this to a 4-year-old, right? So we leave, and I'm very emotional. And that night he wakes up crying, I want my daddy, right? And I was so angry. I remember yelling at him, you need to stop and you need to go to sleep, right? Daddy's not here no more. And I calmed him down. He went to sleep. In the morning he woke up. He goes, I want to go see Daddy again. Let's go. And I called the mortuary to see if they had already, you know, sent him off, in which he was already sent off early because he was buried in Nayarit. But from that time, my son would wake up crying for his dad, screaming. He'd be asleep. He'd come up and be crying out. And I had a motion sensitive laptop that I would have, because to me, this was something I needed to document, because people needed to see, for whatever reason, this was in me. Like, my son's suffering is not going to go ignored, because somebody has to be held. So I have like a few recordings of him when he would wake up crying, right? And I used to get so angry, not at my son, at the whole situation. And then when I realized they put a gag order and people weren't showing, you know, like for 5 years, they kept the body cameras, they kept the 911 call, anything about his case was put on a gag order. So nobody could know nothing about it. And it was like something in me said that, you know, like, I can't let this go because my son's suffering. He has wished more to die more than any little kid. Like, I want to die. I want to see my daddy. And he recently said, my life isn't a normal kid's life. I don't have a dad like everybody else. He goes, and it's not fair. I should just be dead, you know? So there's no help. Like Rosie said, the kids don't get counseling. And people, whoever you ask people for help, they like ignore you. Like, these kids don't matter. Like, you took their dads, but you don't care. They're left traumatized. And our school system, teachers aren't trauma-informed taught. And counselors aren't either. And my son had a counselor at his school, and the counselor told my son, Josiah, I don't want you coming in here talking about your dad if you're going to start crying again. You need to get over it. She told my son that, you know, and he wouldn't tell me why he didn't want, and I got furious, like, oh, hell no. Nobody's going to sign, you know, I got her out of the school, but how many kids did this lady silence who were traumatized or hurting? And she told them that their pain, their trauma wasn't valid, that they needed to get over it, you know? So because of what my son goes through, I needed to help other kids. And that's when Justice for Josiah was born, in the name of my son, because Antonio would want his son to be taken care of. Because there's no justice for Antonio. He's dead. He's gone. But his son, who has to live here fatherless, there should be some kind of form of justice or accountability, because my son shouldn't want to become a cop. Like he said, he want to become a cop so he could kill all the bad cops. I don't want my son thinking like that, you know? Right. Or that he wants to die, you know? Right. Or that he gets angry because his friends have dads and he doesn't, you know? Right. He has these breakdowns. So when Christmas comes, you know, they always have support for the kids that have parents in prison, for the homeless kids, for the kids in shelter. But the kids who lost their parent to police violence, there was never, nobody ever reaches out to them. So the second year Antonio was dead, I started a Christmas from Heaven event. And what it was is I get sponsors. I've had Debug, the 100 Black Men from Silicon Valley, TWS, the St. Paul's United Method. They all sponsor the event where every kid that attends, we have a wish list. And they come one day, we have food, we have Santa Claus, we have performers, and each kid will get 2 gifts from their sponsor, which is from their dad. And then we usually make them like a special ornament or so. And then we have a photo booth, you know, like where every family gets a picture done, and so then we could have it. And so I've been doing this, and we get Operation Christmas gives all the kids, first time, you know, the first time coming, they all get a brand new bike with the helmet. And then if they got one the year before, if they grew out of their other bike, they have to, you know, do an application why they need another one, which some kids, but it's like every other year. So every kid would get a new bike plus their 2 gifts, you know, and then the sponsors are always welcome to come and be there and meet the families and talk with the kids. We'll have arts and crafts. So I've been doing it for 3 years now. Yeah, 3 years. 3 years now. Right. And so, you know, and it's amazing because our first year we had 36 kids show up. Second year we had 87 kids that were left fatherless, and it's just growing and growing, you know. Right, so
which is unfortunate.
Which is unfortunate. It is, because the number keeps growing, and it shouldn't be. I want to thank you guys for sharing your story. It's so important that we humanize the victims of police brutality. We all know that in the media, the narrative is always painted in a negative light. People don't realize that the men and women who have been killed by police have family members that are left behind, and they're often never thought about or spoken about in the media. So thank you guys for sharing your story, man.
Absolutely. All right, yeah. So I want to touch on 2 things that you spoke about that stood out to me. Was that there was officers brought to the San Luis State campus that were trained on crisis, right? Obviously, that's something that is being lacked, that we're having a problem with police right now, is the training. That's something that we're failing as a society right now. And also touching on the kids that are left behind. Like you said, there's programs out there for foster kids. There's programs out there for people that are in prison. I mean, they got phone calls they can make, you know, book time, story time. But there's nothing for families that dealt with deceased through brutality, right? So, I mean, like that's awareness that most definitely, like you brought to us, Justice for Josiah. That's something that most definitely needs to be looked at through a government program, government-assisted programs, you know. We need stuff like this so we can actually keep our kids out of the streets, you know what I mean?
Okay, so let me, with CIT training, there's not enough. These officers are given 8 hours and then that's it. So CIT training needs to be ongoing continuously, and especially after they shoot a family member.
Right.
You know, they should be, again, reevaluated. The training should be ongoing as far as CIT training, and also so many other things should be done. Like they should be drug tested as well.
Right.
I mean, not only do we get a toxicology from our loved ones, but we should be able to get a toxicology from them as well,
Right.
and seeing where their mindset is. Because after you shoot somebody, you can't be where you're not affected.
Yeah.
So they need to be not only CIT trained, but they need to be seeking counseling and therapy as well, but as well as getting drug tested. That's how I feel. I'm, as a drug and alcohol counselor and working in mental health as well, we every year have to take these courses and be up to par, not just one time. We have to be up to par and retrained every time for mental health. So these CIT, they get an 8-hour course at the beginning, and then that's it. And then that's called professional.
Yeah.
And I think a drug and alcohol counselor and a mental health counselor gets more probably CIT training to it than a police officer does.
Right.
So
Well, okay.
Well,
And you want that same type of it needs to be the same thing.
it needs to be all the way
Especially
around.
when they're handling with firearms
Yes,
and dealing with
definite.
the public, and you never know what the public. It could be someone's not a good day. It could be someone's special needs. It could be all kinds of different things. And these trainings are very important.
Very important. And then not only, so that's the training part. What you spoke on was programs for the kids or the loved ones left behind. What they need to do is the victims program is part of the victims witness program is part of the DA. It sits under the DA umbrella.
Okay.
It needs to be independent and out of the DA.
Completely.
Right.
It does not need to be the DA because we're not considered victims.
Right. So they control who
They control who. And when I remember going in there with Jacob's wife, we were questioned. And I, mind you, now I think about it now, it's probably all those questions we're probably trying to use to get, because we didn't, against us, right. But I caught on to it and I kind of told his wife, nah, we got to go.
Yeah.
So I caught on to
Dirty
it. Yeah.
system.
I caught on to what they were doing because it took them so long to call somebody from upstairs to come down and talk to us on the victims program, and that needs to be independent. It does not need to be sitting under the umbrella of the DA.
Because the DA, they're used to just already looking at cases to charge people. They're looking at when they look at things, they look at it through the eyes of, do we have a case here or not?
And
they
you
don't
got to
look at
remember
the humanity part.
the investigation done within the DA department is done by somebody who's either a retired law enforcement. It's already going to see ways of justifying this in a law enforcement eyes.
Right.
So they're never going to be for the people. We are the people. They are the people. We are.
Yeah.
So they're not going to see it on our impacted family side. So that has to be done independently too. It shouldn't be somebody that's actually worked for law enforcement or worked under the DA before, because they're not going to see
like
it.
Police policing themselves.
Yeah, and it's like
not working that way.
DA investigations or it's the same thing. Yes, exactly.
No, so that's what we need.
Definitely.
Oh, it's on me?
Nah, you good.
Oh, well, good looking. So, quick question. Like, what do you think that we need to do as far as the investigations? And do we need to have people come in that are independent, that are really going to do investigations? And then think about this too. Like, we have like a lot of kids. We have kids getting killed. What do we need to do that's going to change the whole situation? Like, I know it's easy for people to be like, oh, we're going to like bring in this person, but we got people getting killed every day. And we have the police investigating the police. If you're a police officer and I'm investigating you and you're the homie, you're okay.
You're gonna be looking out for the homie, right?
Yeah,
So what can we do to make it right to where it's a different situation? And I know like you don't have all the answers. I don't either. But what can we do to make it right for us?
I think she's saying.
Well, I'm going to start with that
For
one.
sure. Jump
So,
in.
what we need to do, number one, is we need to not have all officer-involved shootings
Right.
Yeah.
be investigated by the DA. There needs to be a special prosecutor, independent, who the families that are impacted choose, who feel is going to be
So
fair.
you're saying like public defenders type of
Whoever-
thing,
Wait,
right?
whoever-
can I interrupt you for a quick second? The only thing that's bad about that is if we do that, there's going to be so many more people getting prosecuted because they're really looking at the evidence.
Well,
And
that's what
police
it
don't
should-
want that. And
But that's what they
we
need.
want. Right.
And see, because we
Right.
could prove that the DA doesn't really do investigation when it's officer-involved shootings. Our families have been working together, and I can tell you from my point of view, DA Rosen, when Antonio was killed, there was Mark Buller, who is no longer, there was Matt Breaker, there was Matt Shapiro, and Jeff Rosen, 4 damn district attorneys from the district working on Antonio's case. I only knew Mark Buller from the beginning, and I would ask him, this is the thing, is one of the officers involved in Antonio's shooting was working for the DA's office as a legal law clerk. And they said there was no conflict of interest there.
Right.
How is that not a conflict of interest?
But see, because they thought I was a pendeja, right? That's why they put the thing on a gag order, right? You know. So when Jeff Rosen, so homicide Raul and I'm going to put out every officer's name. Raul Martinez called me.
Shots fired.
And he was from the homicide department, and I went to ask about the body cameras, right? And he said, yeah, there's 2 body cameras. This was 2 days after Antonio was killed. And I says, well, because I went with Antonio's sisters, and they're Spanish speaking. So, and I have my son with me. And he goes, who are you? And I said, well, I'm Antonio's partner. This is his son, and these are his sisters. We heard there's body cameras. We want to know, how do we get him to see him, what happened? We want to understand. My son, I need to know why my son doesn't have his dad no more.
Right.
And I said, there's 2 body cameras. He said, yes. There's 2, but the district attorney has them, right? I said, so how do I get them? He goes, well, when the investigation, he'll decide whether he releases them, right? So I didn't leave that. Raj and Sharice and Debug, we wrote an email, and we said we want to meet with Mark Buller, who was the district attorney. And so I took Jeff Moore, the NAACP president, Richard Conda, which was from the CJA Coalition, the Coalition for Justice and Accountability.
Nice, okay.
And I took Raj and myself. We met with Mark Buller to ask him certain questions I had. Who were the EMTs that picked up Antonio? We wanted to know, did Antonio say anything? My daughter was like, did Papi ask for anybody? You know, like she wanted to know, was my Papi by himself? Did anybody hold his hand? Or, you know, like there was answers and then I asked them also, is it true that one of the officers works for the DA, and why are you guys investigating it if he's working? And they would never, answer directly. And when I asked about the body cameras, they said, oh no, there's not 2, there's only 1. I said, wait a minute. The homicide detective and the reports in the news said both the officers had body cameras. So, and when I talked to Raul Martinez, he said he saw 2 videos. So now you're telling me there's only 1? Right? So they left it at that. So the second time we met with Mark Buller, he went a roundabout way, like they were supposed to give me some answers, which were not answers. But I said, so did you confirm that Vanderhoek is working here? He's all, well, he works here. I don't know him personally, but he works here. So it doesn't matter if you work with him. He's working from the same place, so he knows what's going on here, right?
Yeah.
Easy access.
Yeah. So he tried to play it up. I said, how about the body cam video? I said, so where are the 2 bodies? He says, well, there's only 1 video. I said, there was 2. So who got rid of the second one? He goes, well, there's 1 and a partial of another video, right? Mm-hmm. I said, now there's only a partial.
Right. Now
right? The other day you told me there was only 1. Now there's 1 and a possible partial. So,
It's spades.
Yeah.
Right. 1 impossible.
So, yeah.
1 impossible.
But the thing is that, so Jeff Rosen took 15 months, and when he did the investigation, 15 months for them to decide they were going to justify it. But the thing is, Raul Martinez, there was a witness that she had left a message under the candles where Antonio was killed and said to the family of Antonio, can you please call me? I have some information. Her name was Larissa Norins. She was a San Jose State Russian exchange student. And she was the one that was walking across. She saw everything. So when I called her and talked to her, the first thing I asked her was, I need to know if what they're saying in the media is true, what Antonio did. And I want the truth. I said, if he did it, I'm going to have to accept it. But if he did it, I need to know what really happened either way, right? Okay. Mm-hmm. And the first thing she said, she goes, they're lying. Mm-hmm. He's completely innocent. He didn't do nothing. They're lying. And she told me that there was a plainclothes cop that was right there, and that he caught her recording because she recorded and took pictures. And when he saw her, she like freaked out. And she pretended like she was talking to the phone. And instead of going to the university like she was headed, she turned around and went the opposite direction. And then she called her friends. And she actually posted it on Facebook. I have that on my page where she's talking about she couldn't believe that on her way to, she saw a man get killed in front of her. And people are commenting, dude, are you okay? And then at the bottom, she goes, yeah, it was that guy from San Jose State. He was completely innocent. She put that, and for whatever reason, I came across her page, right? Because I had her number, and I screenshot it. After I screenshot it, her page disappeared. She disappeared.
No.
She never was one of the witnesses. They never talked to her. Never talked to her.
Yeah, the DA is good at, their investigators are good at getting witnesses that fit their story.
Yeah.
The narrative of their story. Because we have a witness
But
that...
they're also good at making you disappear.
Well, we also had a witness with Jacob's situation that said the lights weren't on. He was followed by unmarked cars. The lights were never on. She basically said, I thought it was a road rage incident, so she was wanting to get out of there. She had no idea that they were cops. But who did they put in the DA report? Well, we got 18 months later, and was only a 19-page report, which felt like my nephew was nothing to you. I'm sorry. A 19-page report felt like just a disgrace. Again, another dehumanizing situation. And then all of a sudden, the man that shot him, his camera was buffering the whole time. And so, it's bullshit. It's all bullshit. They're lies. They say that they were with their vests, but if you watch the body camera video of the only one that we have, you can tell they weren't with their vest with police. He had a sweatshirt over him, and he's taking the sweatshirt off as he's yelling motherfucker. Well, he's not a motherfucker. He's somebody's son. And I don't appreciate that language. Is that how they treat, I mean, I felt like, who are they to be the judge, juror, and executioner in this?
Exactly.
If he was even a suspect, that should not have been a death sentence.
Right. Absolutely.
That should have been his chance to be and see his day in court, and that's bullshit.
It's a point where even if you get your hands up, you might get shot.
Right.
Oh, that's
If
his
your
point.
hand on your back, you might
His
get
hands were
shot.
up and he got shot.
Right.
As he moved.
They said he made a slight movement.
A slight movement.
Right.
What does that mean, right?
And the sad thing is they were surveillancing him, supposedly.
Right.
He had a broken leg. They knew he couldn't run.
Right.
They knew he couldn't run. He had just given his scooter to his mom. Like, they knew he couldn't run. So you're gonna tell me you couldn't go in there and tase him and tackle him and get him out? He couldn't go nowhere.
Right.
He could not go anywhere. He wasn't trying to move. He wasn't trying to maneuver. The brakes were on. Like, don't tell me. And then you're gonna use excessive force after the fact that he's already dead. You put the dog on him, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Now you're the motherfucker.
Right.
How are you gonna put a dog on a dead person?
Yeah.
And when a dog chews up somebody the way they chewed up my nephew, that's some bullshit. That's some serious bullshit. Because I'm going to tell you something. He had a family. He had kids. He had somebody that loved him. And those dogs are to do that on command. So you commanded that dog to do that. You didn't command him to go for an arm or leg. You commanded him to go for to kill, which you already knew he was dead.
Right.
Like, that's what I say. Excessive force after the fact.
Right.
Come on, that's some bullshit. That's
the main problem with our interaction with police is that they don't see us as humans.
And that's the thing is Garcia. Me and Chief Garcia, we've been at many forums, like I told you, and so me and him always go at it. His assistant chief David Knox, me and him have a better rapport because we sit at more forums together, and I'll say what I have to say, and he never has a comeback, but other officers who are sitting there kind of get offensive with me, right? And I'll tell the assistant chief, hey, put your boys in check. They don't have to get all butthurt because this is my truth.
The truth hurts.
And I said, if they can prove me wrong with what I'm saying, do it. And I'll apologize publicly because I'm an adult, right? But Chief Garcia has said this to me. Laurie, when people see the uniform, all they see is a cop. They right away hate me. They don't see me as a person, as a father, part of the community. And when he said that to me, I said, miss me, Garcia, with that bullshit. I said, because you know what? I says, I see you as a man wearing a uniform like a janitor, like a fucking nurse, or, whatever. That's a uniform that you have to do, because that uniform, when you take it off with all its equipment on it and you put it up, it's not going to stand on its own and kill people. It's the adult wearing it. So
can I interrupt you for a quick second? When everybody sees you as a woman speaking your voice, they look at you the same way. Oh, why the hell is she talking to me like that? Like, shut the fuck up, stay in your own place, blah, blah, blah. Like, that's crazy that a person can tell you that, and you're like, oh, you're mad about how you feel about how people look at you? I've been going through this all my life.
The whole life.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand that.
Mm-hmm.
My daughter's here. Like, I tell her, like, yo, you 100%, like, just do what you got to do. People looking at you, like, I don't know if that makes sense.
no, I did.
It definitely makes sense. Like you guys have been going through this all your lives. So for somebody that just got a job with the police department and like, yo, like, oh, they look at me and they're like, oh, police, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
They've been looking at me like that all my life.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so,
And I
I
can't take my skin off.
I can't take my
This shit
skin
don't
off.
change.
But you can quit your job.
Right.
I can't quit my skin.
Right.
You chose that profession,
Right.
and you knew the circumstances going into that profession,
Right.
what it entailed.
Yes, ma'am.
So, you know, it's we chose a profession that may be
Dangerous or
dangerous and
Right.
maybe
Right.
not come home one day.
But we never hear firemen saying, oh, I was afraid for my life, so I'm not going to go into a burning house and go
Right.
save the people that are in there, right?
Right,
We never
exactly.
hear them
Right.
saying that.
Right.
They know the job. They know the dangers that are doing it.
Right.
So if you can't do your job without fear, then you need to get the hell out.
Right.
We don't
And
need
not,
to
you
have
cannot
any fear.
judge
You gotta
somebody
be-
because of the color of their
Right.
skin, the tattoos,
Right.
or even their past.
Mhm.
You know, they mentioned his
Right.
past.
Well, they don't even know their past when
No,
half
and
the
they
time-
make it
half
such
the
a
time they don't know about our past
Exactly.
when they encounter us.
Right.
no.
They just
they
see
don't.
us.
Yeah.
And then they use our past against us after the fact.
After the
Exactly.
fact. And that's sad because his past was 14 years. They didn't say, oh, Jacob's past. They made it seem like it was consistent recent.
Yeah.
It had been 14 years since he had ever did his first offense and been to prison, his one and only time in prison.
Right.
So they didn't, it was 14 years ago.
Right.
Because obviously he had made a redemption. He had changed his life. He did a documentary. And in that documentary, he stated, you know, his quote was, when people see someone like me, I want them to see the good.
Yeah.
Because just because you've seen all these freaking tattoos on me, I'm a good person. And he would have gave his shirt off his back to help you out if you needed it.
Yeah.
Hey, you good? Anytime. If this was him right now, right here, he'd be here saying, you good? You need anything? You good? You want anything? Auntie, you good? That's just what his favorite words were. Are you good?
Mhm.
And that's all he wanted to see, have people see in him, the good in him. He had went to the mayor's. He had went up on the 17th floor. He went up there and met the mayor. He went up. I don't know what the mayor was then, but
Mhm.
he had met up with one of the mayors that was in there, and he was like, yeah, you know, I met the mayor, Auntie. I was up there, you know, like he was finally like feeling, you know, he belonged. And then for them to just judge him because
Right.
they took him out, and then because his
They
past.
found something.
Are the officers who were involved in your loved one's killings, are they still on the
They're
force?
still officers.
They're
Yeah.
still on the forces?
Santos, the one who shot Antonio, he still works at San Jose State as an
Still,
as a, you know, he's a sergeant. He was actually promoted. Yes. And then,
He killed somebody and got promoted?
That's what
yeah,
they do.
that's what they do.
That's
Every
what they
single
do.
cop who kills somebody, they get promoted.
Wow.
And they get a paid vacation. And there's some
Yeah, we
that,
want that gone.
there's one officer who killed two people last year within 5-6 months time in San Jose PD. And they were praising him that he's like one of their best cops. Really? He killed 2 people within 6 months time.
The
That's-
officer that took Jacob's life, my opinion, grew up here. He's the same age as Jacob. Same
Amen.
exact age. Went to Mount Pleasant. We know all this. He's comes from a family of a background of police. He's from this city.
yeah.
Mm.
I don't know that he's living here now. I don't know if he is actually on San Jose PD, but I know that he didn't get fired.
Right.
He didn't get fired. So whether they moved him out to another department or
And
whatnot,
that's what they do. is
and that's what
move
they
them.
do. They
Right.
move
Like
them out.
Vanderhoek, one of the officer that was involved, who also was working for the DA in Santa Clara County.
Wow.
They were going to offer him a job in Santa Clara County, but because I was bringing attention to him working there, they kind of did it hush hush. And he went and got sworn in Yolo County as an assistant DA over there. March 3rd, of 2015, I think, and he wasn't cleared for the murder yet till March at the end of the month that year. So they already knew they were going to clear it, right?
We had that same talk with Raul when he was here. They were talking about that they're promoting people for the wrong reasons, right?
Oh, yes.
They're not promoting people for actually being a part of the community.
That's what I'm saying is like the cops who are actually trying to make a difference, they'll never get acknowledged or get moved up in rank because they're not doing what the racist top ones want them to do, like kill people and do this and that. You know what I'm saying?
Bringing people,
I have a question for you. And I had him and I, we had a talk during our last podcast when we were just by ourselves. So he has a business, and with his business, if somebody does something wrong within his company, he takes
the action necessary.
Swift action. So why is it different with the police and like with the law enforcement?
How is that right? Because basically they train them up, they train these people. Now it's like, hey, why is it taking 15 months to figure out what? Hey, this was wrong.
And you're getting paid on your chilling,
right?
The POA covers that. The office, the union covers that.
Cali covers all that,
and that's what needs to stop, and that's what needs to be changed.
Okay.
The POA and the union, the police officers union, needs to be changed. So many things need to be changed within.
They just renewed their contract,
and they just renewed their
with
contract
San Jose PD. So. That contract with the city, that's one of the things that we need as a community to not let happen without community input of what we want that contract to look like. Because they do it behind closed doors because nobody knows, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so they get everything they want.
Right. We need to remember as a community that the DA is elected official, correct?
Right.
City council members are elected officials.
Exactly.
County supervisors are elected officials. So these people are accountable to us.
Yes.
So we have to hold them accountable.
Exactly.
We have to beat them up in the booths.
Yeah.
Definitely. And when us family members go for, there is no justice because obviously the DA right away marks it as justified, and we have no alternative but to seek some sort of damage, for us, and we go civil way. We go civil suits. I personally, and this bugs the crap out of me. Why should we as city taxpayers pay somebody's lawsuit? That motherfucker needs to have his own life insurance, his own liability insurance, and that motherfucker needs to carry his own, just like a doctor does, just how other people do. And they need to cover that shit because I don't want to be paying for these officers to be fucking paying our lawsuits.
If we do that, their behaviors will change real quick.
Bullshit. They'll be thinking twice about pulling that motherfucker gun out.
If we get rid of qualified immunity and make them have to carry their own insurance,
and you know what?
their
Not only
behavior will
that,
change real quick.
anytime they
stop being cops.
anytime they pull.
Exactly.
Anytime they pull that gun from their holster, that just like the body cam gets data, right? Well, that should be data too. Anytime you pull that out to threaten somebody, that's a use of force.
Yep, exactly.
Because they use that to threaten us
all the time.
If you got a gun pointed at, don't you feel like that's use of force?
Yeah.
Hell yeah. So that shit data that shit when you pull that. Why did you pull it out of the holster? What was he doing? What was he doing? What was she doing that you had to pull that gun out of your holster?
What made you so afraid for your life?
Exactly.
Because
they use that
he
to
didn't
threaten
want to
us.
reach for his license.
So, like, that shit needs to change too. If they, there's a way. Technology today, they can freaking put that shit on data. They can freaking put that on their holster, and anytime they pull that gun out of their holster, that shit should be.
They should. I don't think they should. When they do an officer-involved shooting, when they injure, kill somebody, but really seriously, like leave somebody crippled or whatever. They should not get a paid vacation. For as long as it takes the district attorney to do these investigations and make whatever decision, then you motherfuckers need to be without pay because our families are suffering.
Right.
You guys need to suffer financially because you still have your life. You'll think twice. So the next time an officer thinks he's going to take somebody's life, you're going to think twice because, motherfucker, you ain't going on a 2-week paid vacation. Because,
like that, you said motherfucker so hard.
The officer who killed Antonio, I have a picture of the officer who killed Antonio.
Yeah.
In Legoland.
In Legoland, 4 days after he killed Antonio with his 2 sons and his wife. And his 2 sons were older than my 4-year-old son at the time.
Enjoying his time.
Yeah, he just killed somebody and you're out there fucking enjoying it like you didn't destroy a little boy's life.
They make it seem so normalized when they should be in counseling. They should be seeing a therapist to make sure their freaking brains are wired right. Because after I kill somebody, that's going to affect me. I'm going to have some serious PTSD. You're going to tell me he's just going to live a normal life? I don't want that type of officer that just can turn around and go right back out there. I want to make sure that officer is taking care of counseling, therapy, and make sure he's all right. He's really all right, physically, mentally, and emotionally. Like, is he okay? Because that's not the type of officer we want out there. That, I took a life and I'm okay. I'm going to vacation with my family.
I'll take another life when it comes to
we don't need that time period when they do the investigation. Because they killed somebody, they should not have a gun for a year. They should not be able to have their gun until they seek counseling, until they get approval that they're okay. And I think they should have to face the family members of who they killed.
Okay, so can we go back?
Now we pod.
Can we go back really quick? So let's take the guns away from them and make them go talk to the family. And make them understand what your mindset was when you killed their family member. I'm with you. Because you know what? They're going to be like, this is my son. He just graduated. He didn't have any, ill will towards you. You did this. I want you to understand this. Now tell me where you were at. And he's going to be like, he was black and he was eating Skittles. Are you kidding?
That's one thing that Jacob was never one because of the way he looked. He already knew that he had to comply with everything. When they put in his past that he had a resisting arrest, they didn't say the cops beat him up and he won the case.
Well, quick question. And then, what was he resisting arrest from?
When they say he was resisting, what he was doing at the time.
Nothing. They didn't have nothing yet.
They didn't have nothing yet.
He's resisting from resisting.
Yeah, they didn't have nothing. They had to resisting because they were just trying to, that's what they said.
Okay.
So, and it's sad because he always complied. Even when his mom said they got pulled over one time and he's like, Mom, we're getting pulled over. And, she's like, for what? And again, the color of their skin, right? And what he looked like. And she's like, okay. And she bear witness to it. Like, he was total compliance. Yes, sir. No, sir. Yes, sir. And that's what he taught my kids. Like, I know that when that officer was sitting there, that there's no way. I mean, there's no way that he was reaching for. There's no way that's just not who he was. And that's, it's ridiculous the things they say and the shit they do. It is, they don't need a paid vacation. That's for damn sure.
All right, so through you guys, since you guys been dealing with and debug and dealing with the community, have you guys found any possibility candidates for DEA, any type of people that we can push for electives, someone that we can say, hey, look, this is somebody that we want to represent us for the next DA agent. I'm sorry.
No, but we're on the look for somebody. We're hoping.
So there's none out there.
My question is, where do you
there's some
find
public defenders that are awesome right now. There's some really strong public defenders that work with families and have done some amazing stuff, that are very strong advocates and stuff, that we want to try to persuade them to run for DA, but we got to work on them because they really love defending the community, know?
So
my question would be to you is as a public defender or somebody that's going pro bono, they're used to helping us. When you transfer and become a DA, your job is to make sure we go down. So how do we find the ones that are real solid instead of the ones that are just looking for numbers?
You got to persuade.
They're definitely out there. I mean,
you
can see.
You run into a good DA.
No, not DA. Public defender. I said we talk about public defender.
Never ran into a good.
No, but I'm saying it is possible though, because they have the DA.
It is possible because
the DA and SF.
And SF public defender,
and he's shaking shit up there.
He shut shit down over there.
And I support that.
And he
see, that's what we need here.
His background, his parents were in prison too, so he's about the people, and he just wants fairness. He's not about.
So that's 1 in a million.
Well, I think if
they hang out together.
If we think about that on a larger scale. If we think about that on a larger scale, that's why it's important to get people with experience in these type of things on these platforms, in these positions and stuff. Like, we need people who have lived experience dealing with police brutality, dealing with officer-involved shootings, dealing with imprisonment. We need these people at the table to be able to make these policies and stuff.
People who've been in the prison system, They get themselves educated. They're probably more educated than some of these fucking.
Some of the
Police, some of
smartest
the-
brothers I ever met in my life.
You know what?
Go run for
You
DA.
said
I'll
vote
vote for
for me?
you.
Right,
Yeah,
go
come on.
run for DA.
But you
Hey,
better be knowing
Chris,
you're going to be
you ready?
accountable.
I'm in.
Nah, I mean,
Speaking of-
and that will make sense. So it's like a lot of people look at like these different positions, like as far as like the DA, as far as like the public defense. Like people think like, oh no, they have to have these serious like backgrounds. Everything is good. Sometimes you have to be in a position to be able to look at other people who've been through these different situations, so you can be like, I've been there.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. So instead of me being like, yo, I'm gonna give you 25 life, it's kind of like, I've been through that.
You need that-
situation.
you need
I
that
understand
empathy,
the
bro.
situation.
Yeah,
man.
there's
Yeah,
no
you need the
empathy and
empathy.
compassion,
Empathy, yeah.
and you need that.
Right.
Even though these people are in the court system
Right.
and they have to be accountable for whatever they did wrong. Because I also help with DBUG doing the participatory defense, and people are there
Right.
to be accountable for what they did,
Yes.
but don't screw them.
Right.
You know what I mean? And
Right.
don't sit there and overcharge them and
Right.
put all these enhancement on them bullshit.
Right.
Like, nah, they're there to be accountable for their shit, but be fair and be have some empathy and
Right.
compassion for a life.
Right.
You know, somebody doesn't deserve a life sentence for just being somewhere at the same time that somebody, you know.
Right.
Right.
So,
100%
so
right.
it's bullshit,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Speaking of accountability and debug, as we mentioned earlier, you guys are both organizers for debug. Even though debug holds the city and the police department accountable, y'all be on their ass about shit. So so I know after the recent uprisings, the city came out with this Can't Wait 8 reform platform. What is your opinion, or what is debug's opinion on that?
My
On their
opinion is,
new-
in my opinion, my personal opinion, that they can't wait is bullshit. Mayor Ricardo did it.
Motherfuckers.
Mayor Ricardo put that out there that he's doing this because he doesn't want to listen to the impacted families.
Mhm.
Because when he took a knee over there for the George Floyd, he took a knee for George Floyd, but he put a list of names of all these people from other states. But how in the hell are you going to go ignore the people that have been killed right here in your own goddamn city?
Right here in the
Fake
city.
person, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, he's so fake. Like, because he thinks he could just, wash it under the carpet. Like, San Jose is such a safe city.
Yeah.
Like, no, San Jose is really good about covering up shit that they do, and they've been doing it. They have a history of it, you know?
So that 8 Can't Wait has been, a lot of those have already been in place, but they ain't saved our loved ones' lives.
Right.
So
how
to
we-
me, it's bullshit.
Yeah.
Because we looked at it and we seen it, and we look at even with
The
the AB
policies.
392 that we didn't sign up for. We were on that bill when it first started, but they watered it down and took out stuff. And we always look at it because as family at Debug, we go by what the families want. We go with what the families want. And when we looked at these bills and we look at things like this, would it have saved our loved ones' lives?
Right. There you go.
And it wouldn't have. So
Fuck it.
fuck it.
So,
We're done.
So since you
That
said
makes more
I got a
sense.
question for you. Obviously, we can't put a number on the bill or anything like that. But what would you be able to do, and what bill would you try to pass that's going to make the law enforcement and community come together as far as have better communication? Like, I mean, because there's a lot of things that happen to where, like, you know what it is. Obviously, you guys have been through it. What can we do to make the communication better?
The police don't want to. We have tried many times
Right.
to meet with Chief Garcia and meet with the mayor and have these roundtable discussions, right? That even the media, they have like the chief of police from San Jose, San Francisco, Oakland, talking about police accountability in the community, right? Well, you have these officers there. Why don't you have people impacted across the table having these hard discussions, but they won't do it because they don't want to make the cops feel uncomfortable, right? And it's something that has to be done. They need to have a roundtable, upfront discussion with those they've impacted. You need to hear from our side, like it's still a crime. That's what they tell us. So it has to be fair across, the board. Like you can't expect me, like there was, Kelly always accuses us families of being anti-police.
And radical.
I'm not anti-police. I'm anti-police brutality. There's a difference, and he doesn't comprehend that, right? And one time he happened to say, maybe we should make a bill or a law that holds family members accountable for not intervening for our officers when they have to kill their loved ones. He said that.
And who is this? This is Kevin.
Paul Kelly.
Paul Kelly.
Hold on.
And
Now,
then we pod.
but what is
He's a
this?
POA.
He's a POA president.
President.
That's crazy.
Just so people know who we're talking about.
Yeah,
POA
he's a
president.
POA
That's
president. He
crazy.
said that, and he said
He
that.
said
never
some- he
heard
said
that.
some crazy shit.
Yeah.
He's always saying some crazy
He
shit.
even had a picture of all our family members with Aaron Scissor, the old IPA, at a training or something at the police department, and pointing us out as we're anti-police, like basically trying to make all the police force see us so they could know, like basically put a target on our backs, you know.
So,
and that was
so
very
when they
helpful.
encounter you, they
how do we get you guys a spot at the table? You guys need to have a spot at the table.
You guys need to be slick about it and not tell them we're going to be there when we show up.
just show up. Guerrilla warfare. Guerrilla warfare.
Yeah,
I
guerrilla
don't remember what.
Hey, if we can sneak y'all in, let's
Right.
do it.
There's one office. I want
Whatever y'all
police
need
in
us to
Oakland or
do,
Palo Alto.
we need you
I
guys to
think
have
it's
a
Oakland
voice.
that built a bridge with the family that they shot,
Okay.
their loved one,
Okay.
and they were willing to build that bridge with those officers. But
Yeah.
here, there's no build.
So
There's no building, nothing.
There's like
Not even the mayor, though. The mayor's
mayor's full of shit.
any of the families. He
Mayor's
wouldn't
full
meet
of
with
shit.
any. He met with me. He gave me 10 minutes.
Right.
And when I seen him, it wasn't even a meeting like that. It was for a whole
But if you
different
guys
situation.
pull up,
So being that you guys are, or you ladies, excuse me, are family members of people who have been involved in officer-involved shootings, you have firsthand knowledge of that situation, that experience. What would you say to the family members? What should they do? God forbid that happens to them. What should family members do?
Number one, don't talk to the fucking police.
Yeah.
Don't
Boom.
leave with the police. Don't talk to
Let's
the
go.
police. Don't go in no investigation
No,
room with the
God.
police because they're only trying to build their story to match their shit.
Right.
So don't ever go to the
Don't- yeah,
police
Go
don't
get
with
offer
the
your-
police.
get
Don't offer
representation.
anything. Don't go to them. Nothing. You seek an attorney as soon as you can, but do not talk to the police
Yeah.
because they're only trying to get their story to match what happened with their officers. So
Yeah, and also
We have a lot
get a
of-
family representative or somebody you trust to go and to the area wherever it happened and collect evidence, collect witness statements
Collect your
before
own
the cops
evidence.
get.
do your own
because-
investigation,
yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
But get the witness statements before the cops do. Try to get any
Yeah.
video footage that's in the area. You know, from the houses they have surveillance, wherever.
Mhm.
There's stuff, but you have to get it before the cops because once the cops get the hand on it, forget it.
Yeah.
right.
So like
It
with
gets
Debug, what we did with the families is collectively
Yeah.
we came up with what's called the first 24.
Hmm.
And that first 24 and
Tells you the
it'll
do's and
have
don'ts.
we'll have a link, but it'll tell you exactly what to do when your loved one is involved in any sort of police brutality
I
or
got an
officer
argument.
shooting.
I got an argument for you. I thought the police were here for us.
Yeah, right.
Well, not when
Hey,
they
she said,
shoot.
yeah, right?
You know, I mean, not when they shoot and kill one of us. You know, we have to
Right,
protect our loved
For
ones.
sure.
You know, and we have to sit there and humanize them as much as
Yes.
possible because all they're
Absolutely.
going to do is dehumanize
Yes,
them.
man.
So what we created was, and it's crazy because these youth watched, we all did videos. Every family member is about 12, 17 of us that we meet every month at Debug, and we collectively do what our next strategy, what do we want to change, what do we want to do next. And it's all, Debug leads by the families. So when we did this, we have a youth program, and the youth watched every video of all our family members doing interviews
They
on
broke it
what
up in groups.
and what we had to do within the 24 hours and what we didn't know, what we did know, whatever
That's
it
pretty
was.
dope.
And those youth put this together for us.
Yeah, they saw what
They
was
saw
consistent
every
in
and
all
what
of ours.
what
They
matched
pitched it.
all our
Yeah.
stories that matched and what and they picked what
What they
to
heard
put
from
in.
each of us.
and
Right.
their number one was don't talk to the
Don't
police.
talk.
Right.
Right.
Don't talk to
Any
the police.
situation.
Yeah.
Never talk to the police. Any situation.
We're putting together right now. How can we be a part of the debug? How can we get on to because we're like
Come
shooting
join us
safe.
at our once this COVID shit, because right now it's the families. We have our Zoom meetings, but
Right.
also you could join our family meetings. We're right now we're working on a DA accountability
Right.
strategy.
Defunding. We're still doing the
We're still
defunding the
doing
police.
defunding the
Yep.
police and
Because we
stuff.
still have time
There's
to
things that
defund.
we're working on that we can have people to help us read documents, because some of us,
We can't read our own.
we
loved
can't
ones'
read our own
documents.
loved ones, DA reports, police reports. Some of it's really hard for us to read it and go through it. So if we have
Secondary trauma.
other people who can read it for us and help get it,
And mark out the
and mark out stuff that we need so we can put it together. I mean, that would help. Like we have some people, but it's like when the families are having their anniversaries for their loved ones,
Come
for
out there and
people to
support
come out there, support them, hear their stories, know their names, advocate for, be their voices too with us. It's very important that our community acknowledges the people in their own backyards.
Right.
Because everybody heard about George Floyd, Trayvon Martin, everybody. and we all support each other. Like we know
We know a lot of people
we
from
know
all
all the
over
families.
place.
Like I personally
States.
know a lot of those families. I haven't met George Floyd's family. I would have if I would went to Minneapolis, but we all stick together, you know.
Okay.
So when a new family joins, it's like we all get triggered again
Right.
because we know what they're going through. So those are all the families just in San Jose that we all work together right there.
Right.
And Harpo, right here,
His anniversary is coming up.
anniversary is coming up. So August, what she's doing on the 10th.
Mhm.
On the 10th, she's
Wow.
gonna have an event. She's gonna give out backpacks and there's gonna be stuff in his name. So if you guys wanted to come join us
Of
and
course.
see and meet the families, like
Definitely.
And donate and everything.
Yeah.
and then like Jenny Jenny Vasquez, that one really hurt me. They blew her face off, right? And the family's Spanish speaking. So some of our Spanish speaking families, it's hard for them to get that support, right?
Mhm.
Because not a lot of people communicate and they're just like intimidated. But
Mhm.
But I give them credit. They come out every
They come
time.
out.
We keep them in the loop.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a language barrier for me, but we do have
But, yeah.
Spanish speaking. I mean, even my sister's Spanish speaking, and she spoke to the mom at Anthony Nunez's anniversary, and just two moms connecting and losing a loved one and losing their son or their daughter. That was my sister's only son. That was Jennifer Vasquez's mom's only daughter. So just the connection. I said, talk to her, and she's like, I feel bad. I just feel,
yeah, 'cause-
and my sister's feeling, and just to see her, but the connection. My sister needs that. She needs that so much for somebody to feel the same pain she's feeling.
Mhm.
I can't be that person for her, but that woman could. and then my sister could speak Spanish, so that's good a thing. But she did, and she was able to connect with her. But
It's different.
It
is
was
different.
I'm auntie, I'm not mom.
Yeah,
I'm
even
only
like
auntie.
me, I'm not a mother who lost her child. My son lost his father. So my son is a real big comfort to the mothers that lost their sons. Like he'll go up, my son, he'll go up to them and he'll hug the moms, like hug them, just hug them. And they feel that connection. So my son,
He feels it.
he feels it. He lost his dad and he knows they lost their child, right? So he's made the connection with like the fathers and the mothers, and I'm proud of him because he'll go up to the moms when they're crying and he'll hug them. He'll go walk up to them and hug them like that, because he knows it hurts.
Yeah, he knows he's been through it.
Yeah,
But I think we just need to start all over in this whole damn DA and we just need to wipe it all out. Start all over.
Redo the whole system. Just like we continue to say the names of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery. You have to continue to say the names of the people who have been killed by police here in our city.
Mhm.
So that includes Jacob Dominguez, Antonio Guzman Lopez, and all the other people you have up here on the picture. Say their names just like we say everyone else's names.
Yeah.
Say their name and know their story.
Exactly.
Say their name and know their story.
Exactly. Thank you guys for coming. This has been a conversation. One of our deepest ones. One of our most enlightening ones.
It ain't been a conversation.
Definitely.
This was the truth.
This is the truth. This is facts. All facts.
Let's go.
You guys got any final thoughts before we head out?
No, I'm just very appreciative.
Real quick, let's have a quick conversation about what programs can we do to help people that are going through the same thing.
Just to
connect them with the families, debug,
Can we connect them with you guys?
Yes, definitely.
Check out Debug for sure.
Yeah, right there. There's my
Justice
number.
for
Joseph for Josiah. Anybody, a lot of people.
We'll put all the information up on the.
You got me? Oh, I got you.
we'll put all that.
Connect them with Debug because that's what we do. We now, I mean, when I started working with Debug, it was I got because of Laurie introducing me and coming out to my nephew's visual.
Okay.
That's how I got connected with Debug. The work I've done before helped me stay connected with Debug to help them with different things within the court.
Mm-hmm.
But now I'm that person that they call to, what do I need to do? I need to file a complaint. What do I need to, and, even though I may still call her at times, hey, we need help with this.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm that person at Debug to get a hold of if it's not Laurie. But
Definitely.
she's always backing me up anyways.
Yeah.
There.
Again, thank you guys for coming. We appreciate this conversation. Anything we can do to help, please let us know.
Yeah.
You guys are family now. You guys are part of the podcast.
Yeah.
We will definitely come check out Debug. We encourage all of our listeners, all of our supporters to check out Debug. They got some dope information for you. They out here on the front lines putting in the work. So we thank you, ladies. Thank you for being vulnerable and sharing this space with us. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you for giving us a chance to have our voices heard.
Absolutely.
It means a lot.
Always. Definitely. As always, your past doesn't determine your future. but your hustle and motivation will. So make sure today's the day you take your shot. We out.